My name is Michelle, in this life. My name is Michelle Brock. I do spiritual development life coaching and past life regression.
Okay. What is that?
Past life regression is the act of recalling your previous lifetimes by way of hypnosis.
Okay. And what does karma have to do with reincarnation?
You know, karma is a concept a lot of people kind of bounce around. It's almost a tagline. Karma, in my experience, is about balance. And we're confronted with situations and people that we need to bring something into balance. So in order to do that, we need to reincarnate in order to be confronted with the situation. So karma is almost a force that is drawing us to reincarnate even. I got into this work through my own experience, and I had a past life regression, and it completely changed my life and the way I view my life. So I became a real student of all things past lives, reincarnation. That led to karma, spirituality in different forms, energy medicine, and I realized that I'd stumbled on what's become my life's work through that journey, through really having had that experience myself, and the way that it healed certain things in my life and the way it changed the way I view my life. So I help my clients have that experience that I had myself. And even though it's unique and different for every person, it's really mentoring someone through a process that I've been through myself. If somebody wanted to know in a soundbite what the benefits of a past life regression would be, I would say it's all about self-exploration, you know, where I think that's what spirituality is in essence, is discovering more about ourselves, who we are, why we're here, you know, where are we going? I think these are questions we all ask. So really that knowledge of the self is completely invaluable, and that's what a past life regression does. It opens the door to discovering more about yourself. A regression can cure a lot of things, and I that term cure, I think I'm going to put little quotes around that. You know, sometimes it won't cure something. It's a matter of helping us understand something, because we have life challenges that are given to us. I mean, you might not be able to cure your cancer, but you might be able to be healed from it and pass over consciously with an understanding of who you are and why you're here. So it's not always about the cure. Healing is not about being cured, always. It can be. I think that a lot of people come to me for phobias are a really big one. Understanding where these fears come from. You know, they're coming from a deep place that they can't quantify or recognize. But there are people that have physical symptoms that have manifested in their bodies as an energy carryover from a previous lifetime. Back pain's a big one, neck pain. You know, there are people with scars on their bodies that match, you know, wounds that they recall being inflicted in a past life. So that aspect of it is very interesting, the whole body, mind, soul connection with that. But there are, you know, it's mostly about the mental things, the emotional things that we can't cure. But sometimes those manifest themselves in a physical way as well. Understanding the concept of reincarnation, and meaning that we each individually have past lives and therefore have future lives. So opening up a window onto the fact that there's a process here, and a never-ending one, really helps us to see that we're on a journey and that others are as well. So when you talk about the world becoming a more peaceful place, I mean, we're talking about that sense of otherness that we have with other people, other cultures, that can be prejudice, even that sense of disconnection. We can really understand that we are connected in a very real way through this journey that we're on. We're all in this life thing together, and we all have made mistakes. Remembering that you've been something other than yourself, or how you define yourself, meaning, your religion or your background or your physical form, means that you can make that leap and see others in that way as well. And I think that that's a big step toward forming a more peaceful planet, to really understand that we are connected. We're not any different than anyone else. So that compassion, I think, is key in that element.
Cool. And
A past life regression is a great way to attain that level of understanding that we're all connected, in that you're doing your own work, your own journey of healing. So to really delve into your demons, your dark spots, the pieces of you that are not necessarily pretty, the mistakes you've made, to realize that you've evolved, I've killed someone in a past life. It was a long time ago. The good news is that I've evolved beyond that, and I can track my evolution, through understanding my past lives. And by biting off these pieces, these stories, and these parts of myself, by understanding myself more, then I can learn to understand others. So we keep the focus pointed inward at ourselves, because the work that we do is the work that we do on ourselves. We can't control, what others do. But by doing that and raising our own level of understanding and our own vibration, we also raise the vibration of the entire planet based on what we're contributing.
cool.
Evolution implies a process. And evolution is about growth, and there are different types of evolution. There's physical evolution, there's soul or spiritual evolution, and they are in essence the same. We're given physical form, or we choose to have physical form, in order to have the opportunity to learn lessons in order to grow. And when we grow, we evolve. So just to have the lesson in place doesn't mean we're using it to evolve. It's that expansion. It's taking a lesson and understanding that there are more lessons. So it's that process, and really stepping forward, taking a step upward. And then you can see the entire staircase. There are always steps to grow. So I don't even like to use the term old soul. I use the term evolved soul, because age does not necessarily guarantee wisdom. So I think it's about the work that you do and how you apply those lessons that lead to this process, which is evolution. A lot of people are talking about awakening now and these times. And I don't think this is new. I think there's been, doomsday prophecy or a new era or a new phase prophecies for a long time. I mean, we're going back to Nostradamus, the book of Revelation. There were a lot of periods of time in history where they said, this is it, this is the end of days. I think back to the concept of evolution, I think that there's a process implied here. So what's happened is that we've made a shift. We're in a new phase where we have the internet and travel, global travel. We're able to jump on a plane and go anywhere. So that sense of global community is really kind of what the theme is right now. So we would have to adjust our thinking. We would have to, as beings, adjust our way of being and our way of seeing. And you can connect it to the Mayan calendar all you want. The Mayan calendar did predict that they call it unity consciousness, where we start to understand we're all one, where we can go on YouTube and watch something happening in Pakistan, and we can feel connected to that. So our minds and our brains would need to adjust to that, where 200 years ago that just wasn't possible. Our circle of reference with the people we could care about or the people we could feel connected to was quite a bit smaller. So I think it just makes sense that we would need to adapt and grow to the technology that's changing and our lifestyles. I don't know, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's connected to not just Mayan prophecy, but certainly Navajo prophecy, and a lot of other cultures have prophesied about this too. What comes next, I think, remains to be seen. The point of reincarnation, meaning why we do it, is to learn. And because we're beings who learn best by doing, we come in bodily form in order to be confronted with lessons and experiences so that we can learn. And what it is we're learning is actually, not to sound cliche, is actually related to love. How to love. How to love ourselves, how to love each other, and how to love each other in different forms. It's not just romantic love. We have someone who will reincarnate as our mother, who was our wife in a previous life. Well, we need to learn how to love her in both ways. So, and that energy is actually what does tie us together, because love is energy. And it is the only thing that does survive death. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful concept where we're learning how to be better beings. And the way we become better beings is through how we express our love for each other.
Right.
So past lives can be recalled spontaneously. And I use that term to mean that they just come. Everybody has their own unique, I call them ways of seeing. And, we have our five senses. We have touch, smell, sight, taste, hearing. But we also have what I call our extra senses, which is inner seeing, clairvoyance, inner knowing, which is clairsentience, inner hearing, clairaudience. People hear voices and sounds. So a lot of what I do is I teach people how to recognize their own unique inner way of seeing. And once you know how you're getting, and they're also psychic abilities. So I teach people that we're all psychic to varying degrees. Some of us are born, with a little bit better sense of our inner world and our inner self, and are naturally more psychic. Some of us, can learn to develop it. And the way you learn to develop it is by this self-inquiry, this self-work, becoming familiar with your own way of seeing, going through your dreams. Do you see your dreams? Do you hear things in your dreams? Do you sense things? So learning how you experience this extra information coming from your subconscious. But I believe the subconscious also represents this vast space, this infinite, spiritual universe that's around us at all times. That actually the paradox is that we think that it exists outside of us when it's actually within us. And that's kind of a little bit of a deeper spiritual concept, but that's how I teach intuitive development as well. So psychic abilities, past lives, intuition, this is all becoming familiar with you and your inner world. So for me, when I recognize my past lives spontaneously, I'm very clairvoyant. I see things in my mind's eye. So sometimes it's usually something that triggers it. Smells are a powerful memory trigger. Places, I've been to places that I've never been to in this life, that when I got there, it triggered, things that I would see or things that I would know. People are a powerful trigger. You'll meet someone who's a soulmate. It can open up these memories that, ancient reminiscence, that connection can stir something in you deeply. So by learning to recognize that and trust it, the hardest part is really with the trust. There's a man who's a renowned psychic medium, and he tells people that the difference between him and everyone else is that he trusts what he's seeing and what he's experiencing. So, and that takes time and it takes practice, and it's different for everyone. It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting how, there's magic in the everyday. It's literally people are looking for miracles where they're existing all around us at all times. It's synchronicities and people that we've known before, we've loved and lost, they're right in front of us. So a lot of that is just taking away this filter. And this is related to the awakening concept I was talking about, being aware of it and awakened to it. And living your life as an awakened being is a very different way. So you're experiencing this literally magic of the ordinary and of the everyday. It's a beautiful way to live. All of us are psychic. I believe that psychic abilities are innately human. And it's unique, almost like a thumbprint for every person as to how they experience it. So delving into this inner space, we're kind of stirring up that inner mind self, which I believe is the eternal soul, which is the part of us that does survive death and does reincarnate. So once we learn our soul, become familiar with our soul, almost like a mirror is being polished, we really, some people call this in like New Age spiritual circles, our authentic self. That's our authentic self. And when we become in alignment with our authentic self, meaning we're familiar with it, we know it, it's almost a stranger that we can get to know. So the more we're in alignment with that, the more the psychic stuff comes. These gut feelings, these intuitions, the dreams that come true and manifest later. That's how we know we're in alignment with our eternal nature, when that magic stuff happens. And some people get really enthralled with that. They get almost obsessed with it. Even addicted to it. Meditating all day because they just want things that they need to know. There's a balance, I think, without thinking that you're too special. Being psychic is not about being special. It's about being in alignment, because we're all psychic. So a lot of psychics who are naturally gifted psychics kind of market themselves as an authority somehow. What I do is I teach people that nobody can be your own authority except you. And nobody will know what's best for you and your life path better than you. So, you can go out and it can be valuable to go visit a psychic or a healer or someone who can tell you something that is profound, a piece that you were missing. But treat it like that, and then use your own intuition. Use, the things that you've seen. Get more familiar with that. And then, it's not about this psychic specialness, and it's just more about being an awakened being who is familiar with their authentic selves.
Very cool.
I am just going to...
We've really kind of watered things down in our modern day, and this is like, the generation before us, kind of like the big 80s, like get to it quick, get results, and lost that soul and the essence of, the journey and really learning an art, and in that traditional way is really being returned. So it's almost like, all of the wisdom of the ancient people, like they already knew. We've just forgotten, and increasingly more and more, and gotten further and further away from like this truth that, indigenous people really had some things figured out about how to, live in harmony with the earth and in balance with themselves, so, and I think that we were talking about evolution. I think part of our evolution is trying to return to those traditions that are ancient. So maybe that's part of the circle of the Mayan calendar. We'll just go back to the beginning where things were, a little bit more evolved.
No,
We've evolved backwards.
Yeah, we've devolved.
We've evolved. In essence, the truth of what I've discovered, we've been here before, but now we're back to learn why. Where even taking that another step farther, people are like, well, why are we here? We're here to remember who we are, and that's pretty profound and kind of all-encompassing, and really hits on what I was talking about the authentic self and the personal development and the whole spiritual journey is back to source. Like, who are we? Where we have to remember, but then understanding why is an integral part of that, you know, and really doing your work, you know.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, you know, that it's all about the journey rather than the end destination, we're really talking about being present. And it might seem counterintuitive that delving through your past lives can help you learn how to be more present, because we're going back to the past. So a lot of people are, well, we don't want to dwell on the past. No, we want to shed our past so that we can be here now, because it's really the moment we're in, not even the life we're in, the very moment we're in, and the future that moment is creating that matters the most. So by understanding where we've been, we're understanding the things that are holding us back and the things that are obstacles to really being here now and being present. And so it is about the journey in that it's where we're at right now in this present moment, and what we do with that matters. So arming ourselves with knowledge about our own crap, our own sticking points, the things that we need to work out, the things that we need to be honest with ourselves about, outdated belief systems, they need to go. And what that does is it informs where we're at. So that's the journey. The journey is really, you know, letting go constantly. Every moment that has been, that's gone, is now gone, and shedding it. Some people dwell a lot on the past. Some people spend a lot of time thinking about the future, where the future is something we're actively creating in each moment. So if we're focused on the destination, I mean, what is the destination? The destination doesn't exist because we're scripting it, we're writing it in each passing moment. So, you know, don't worry about the destination. You can only be here now. So that idea of, you know, repentance or redemption somehow through past lives, it doesn't really work, because I find that the fastest way to be reincarnated as something again, or to be challenged in an even bigger way, is to not deal with the lessons that you're sent here to deal with. So it isn't about doing good or doing evil. I don't even necessarily even believe in that concept anymore. Although there's, you know, things that we perceive as bad, meaning unloving, right? Or good as loving. But I think it's a larger concept of that. I don't necessarily believe in good and evil as being black and white anymore, because I've come to an understanding through compassion for the process that we're learning. We're in school. You don't judge a kindergartner, you know, for not being able to pass an exam that you would give a high schooler. And I really do see it that way. So I think that people would use past lives as an excuse for redemption and kind of lack of repentance until they actually have to confront their own past life selves and then come to that understanding that that's not how it works. And they would come to that understanding all on their own. I'm not a religious scholar, so I mean, I don't go there. You know, I'm not going to challenge the religious authority on a spiritual debate about reincarnation, but it's pretty interesting how pan-globally people believed in reincarnation until we entered the phase of the Mayan calendar, which was all about politics and control and empires being built. And then we took away these kind of ancient belief systems that, you know, involved a connection not only to each other, but a connection to the earth and you know, earth cycles that, you know, the leaves would fall in the fall, and that didn't mean the tree was dead. And the tree would come back refreshed in a new form. So, you know, it's interesting how belief in reincarnation is not new, but necessarily a return to the way that things used to be. The question of whether or not the past life needs to be real in order to help them is kind of a multifaceted question, at least for me, because then that brings up the concept of truth. What is truth? What might be true for you might not be true for me. Does this couch exist? I happen to believe it does. Getting as deep as we want to be, that is through my own personal perception. So what I do right away is I tell people, if you want it to be true, let it be true. It doesn't need to be true in order to help them, because it's coming from somewhere. It's coming from their inner selves. And your inner self is authentic. It's true. It's not going to lie to you. It's not going to mislead you. It's going to give you what you need for your journey. Do I happen to believe that they're past lives? I mean, I do. But, proof is not the point, and truth is not a prerequisite for the experience being healing and being profound. I found that belief is not necessary for the regression to work or for them to experience something from it. And actually, in my years doing this, it's actually been the people that come in, with a little bit of healthy skepticism, even a little chip on their shoulder. I don't know if I believe in this at all. Well, great, they're in an open place, without any preconceived ideas about what they're going to uncover. That's difficult. Someone who's read every book out there on reincarnation, they might come in with an idea of what the experience might look like or be like. So, keeping an open mind is the most important part of success in getting there, because it's really being open. If you can have that open door, then you can move through it. And then building on that, if you don't believe in it, you can start to create your own belief system through your experience. And I think that experience is a lot more powerful than belief. You create your own truth through experience. So they can say, I didn't believe in past lives, but I experienced XYZ. And let that be another step, another building block. Does it prove it definitively? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we ever can definitively prove the existence of past lives. If we can, I'm more than willing to work on it and try. I don't think that that's the point. One of the most interesting things that I've discovered is that the soul is genderless. There is no sex to our souls. And it's interesting, pretty much across the board, it's been about 50-50 for people, whether they're a man or a woman in their past life. And that makes a lot of sense, because I believe that those experiences of being male and female are, in essence, quite different and fundamentally unique. Different life paths, I think. So if we're here to learn, and we learn by doing, we have to try both and be all things. So over time, we reincarnate enough times that we begin to understand that, our ego, our sense of self, who am I, that I'm a woman. I understand that I happen to currently be in a physical form as a woman, but I understand that I am genderless, that I am all things. So that's another form of evolution for us to understand that who we are is much more than our bodies and our physical form and how we identify ourselves. Past life regression as a process has a real practical application for people who are dealing with issues surrounding death and grief and dying. Because I think that, death is the great unknown. It's the great mystery. And it's the one thing in life that we can count on. But I think that there's a lot of fear about death, about that process. So, yeah, it's about our past lives, and the things that we did and the places we lived and the people we loved. But really, a past life regression is about experiencing your own death. And that's been an integral part of spiritual journey in general since ancient times. Many indigenous cultures, as part of their spiritual training, they have you remember your deaths, relive your deaths in various ways. So really becoming friends with death and understanding death is, in essence, a cornerstone of finding any spiritual path. So remembering you've died before can help you understand, the death that you will experience in this life and what lies beyond. When you're dealing with grief issues, meaning that you've lost someone that you love and you care about deeply, to really remember that you've been with them before and therefore you'll be with them again, I think is incredibly healing. And it was for me that actually my own journey involved, finding that truth with my own mother, who I lost at a very young age in this life. And, remembering her in a past life made me realize that she does continue to exist, and I'll be with her again. And that my love for her will survive death. And it really is the only thing you can take with us. So, keeping that love on the other side, I think, and realizing that is real is very healing for people who are having a hard time dealing with letting go of a loved one. And then there's also the aspect of it where we realize that at the end of the day, we cross paths with other people for a very short period of time. And our journey through many lifetimes is a solitary one. So that connection to other people, feeling that we need them, is something that can be deeply challenged through a past life regression. Maybe that's your wife, you love her, great. In a past life you had other wives. You had, a lot of other people, but they're brief. These encounters are brief, and they're beautiful, and they're presented to us to learn things. But at the end of the day, we move on from this body and spirit form completely on our own into the next life and beyond. I throw out the term spirit guide like it's my buddy, my familiar. It's been my experience, and maybe this is the experience that my clients have with me, because I have kind of a spiritual angle that I'm seeking. I'm more interested in the journey over many lifetimes rather than the specifics of a past life. We really do have guidance around us at all times, and deceased loved ones, relatives. I'm also a psychic medium, so during a session with me, sometimes I'm getting instruction from people's guides. I don't always tell this to my clients. It depends. I don't need to. They're having the experience, but and I think that that's an important point to bring up. I mean, I'm not doing anything except being what I'm instructed to do through my guides and other people's guides. And I've kind of gotten over that hump of this is really weird. You can communicate with spirits, because to me that's a part of my existence, and it's a tool I use with working with people. So during a regression, I also teach people to learn how to contact their own spirit guides. So we have different types, and this is based on my experience and the experience of my clients as well. We have relatives and loved ones who we've known in this life, who have passed, who stay around us, who love us. And it's as simple as that. They're around us because they care. They want us to find who we are. They want us to be happy, to experience joy, to experience love, and experience all of the beauty that life in physical form can give us. And it's really through that love and that connection. Oftentimes we have deceased relatives who feel that they have unfinished business with us, that they wronged us in some way, or they have regrets about things that they left undone or left unsaid. They'll help bring into balance, and this is back to the karma idea, with us by helping us out on the other side in spirit form. But we also have guides who don't seem to incarnate anymore, meaning that they've graduated from the school of life. They're a little bit more evolved than us. They don't necessarily need to come back in human form. And when that happens, their job is to help the rest of us who are still trying to figure this thing out called life. So, you know, being aware of your guides is another part of learning how to experience your own inner mind. And yes, it's a psychic experience, but it's a human experience. We all have these guides, and we can all be aware of their presences if we know how to do it. So, you know, their job, how this relates to past life regression, their job is to guide us on our life path. And our life path extends well beyond this life into the next and goes back as far as it can. This process of learning, growing, evolving. So they're helping us, they're guiding us. And the way that they do that is they bring into our lives through synchronicity people and situations that will be the best opportunities for learning and growth. The process of, you know, formulating my own unique perspective on my work has not involved just practicing with people, but also through my own journey and the things I've learned and the different teachers I've had, where I always encourage people to delve into, you know, finding knowledge wherever you can and using your intuition and finding the things that you're most drawn to. So I did a lot of reading, like, for example, from Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who wrote a lot of things about, you know, patients who had near-death experiences or even clinical death experiences. And it was incredibly compelling how much that lined up with what my clients were experiencing, you know, during their regression after they had died. So I also, too, Dr. Brian Weiss has several books. This is a book he wrote about soulmates, and it has a really profound lesson in it about destiny, that he was working with two different clients who were describing, in essence, each other in their past lives, and had a deep longing for, you know, a partner in this life and whatnot. And a few times he had tried to manipulate their meeting, and they ended up meeting on a plane, you know, when they were destined to. So, you know, this for me, I've found personally very inspiring, where, you know, you think that you know, timing wise what's best, and that there is a larger plan and a divine purpose that is, you know, slowly unfolding. I also did a lot of reading and a workshop with a woman named Byron Katie. She does a lot of, I related to her personally. Her story was very similar to mine. And, you know, her entire approach is all about self-inquiry, you know, asking yourself questions that challenge your viewpoints and your belief systems. So I really found that very relevant. I read a lot about Kabbalah, you know, physics, specifically Fred Alan Wolf. He's really interesting. He talks about consciousness. I read a lot of Carl Jung, and then shamanism of different forms. I have several Native American teachers. I read a lot about, you know, earth-based spirituality, because I felt drawn to that personally. I've always been a big lover of nature, and I spent a lot of time as a child outdoors. So recognizing my own connection to nature at an early age was, you know, a really important step in my own development, and using awareness of your past lives and the journey of the eternal soul, and really how not only are we connected to each other, we're connected to the earth as well, has really heavily influenced my philosophies. And also Soul Retrieval, and this is a book by Alberto Villoldo, who he studied shamanism from the Inca tradition, and I did a lot of reading and work with him as well. I did not, and he runs a school called the Four Winds Society that I did not do, but Soul Retrieval, the premise behind it is that pieces of our soul become splintered off when we experience trauma, and we need to journey back to retrieve those pieces of ourselves in order to return them and to become whole. And I thought right away when I read about soul retrieval how much I felt that was in alignment with my work doing passive regression. So I do have a heavy shamanic approach to what I do, but I also have a psychological approach and even a practical approach. I really feel that, it's almost I'm almost a bit of a spiritual anthropologist, in that I'm most interested in the experiences that are spiritual, that are innately human, that are kind of pan-cultural, and helping us understand that the spiritual journey is, in essence, the same, regardless of background or belief or culture. So, that's just a little bit about some of the influences that I've had on my journey, and I'm always adding more tools. I'm always wanting to learn more, and I see my career a lot like I see myself, as that it's just continually growing and evolving thing. So.